connected to the Kwame Ture Center. And I want to say a special good morning to all of the members of the TTPS. Yes, that's what I said. I was honored, and this would have been my first such occasion. I was the feature speaker for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service at their emancipation event on Thursday, and it was a magnificent occasion. It was also, I think, probably the longest emancipation event that I remember attending of that nature, but it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful occasion. And so many of our beloved brothers and sisters in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service who are conscious, love their heritage, are genuinely interested in making our community a better place. And I was moved by the police commissioner, Mr. McDonald Jacob, who in his message spoke to his officers saying that they have to go into the community with compassion. And he said, when police officers, this is the commissioner of police saying this, he said, when police officers go into their community and treat the residents, treat the citizens with hostility and brutality in an aggressive, violent manner, he said, when officers do that, they are doing to their own people what the slave masters did to us. I thought to myself, okay, how many commissioners have we had who would sensitize their officers to that kind of required care? And I tip my hat to Mr. Jacob for taking up that position, and to the assistant commissioners also who shared some powerful words. It was a great day all around, all around. The entertainment, the drummers, the spoken word artists, it was just a great day. And I also did a PowerPoint presentation for them, and it was one of my more enjoyable sessions. So, beloved, for the first time that I could remember, might have happened once or twice before, the TV6 News held a poll yesterday asking if people feel safe in Port of Spain. And for the first time that I can remember, there was a 100% response for one side of the question. And 100% of the people said no. There was another broad daylight shooting yesterday in Port of Spain. Another brazen killing on the street in a very crowded place. This would have been George Street or Charlotte Street, around there. I think it was George Street. Now, when this happened last week on South Key, South Key is generally a very busy place with a lot of people walking by, but this was like on the island between two roads, so there wasn't a crowd around the shooter and the victim. But there were a lot of people across the street, passing in cars, etc. That was last week. But this week, this broad daylight shooting actually took place in a very crowded area. Now, again, going back to this last week one, which has been circulated all over the Caribbean, by the way, that one from last week, clearly the perpetrator of that crime had his plan for how he was going to get out of that area. But yesterday, to carry out a shooting like that, with people all around you, and you would probably have to, I don't know, run for at least 60, 70 meters before you get to the closest part of downtown where there wouldn't be a thick crowd. And this, again, these images just being circulated all over social media, on people's WhatsApp status, on Instagram and TikTok. They circulate so rapidly. So this is something that we all have to participate in. I said to the police officers on Thursday that my leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in an address to the Association of Black Police Officers in America in 1997 in Atlanta, he said to the black police, he said, there are three things that you need to do your job more effectively. One is assistance, two is respect, and three is more money. He said the assistance comes from the community. The respect comes from the society, and the increased salaries and wages come from the state. But you will not get that unless you give something. So in order to get the assistance from the community, you have to treat them with more compassion. You have to show that you are genuinely interested in improving conditions within the community and making the people feel much more safe. And that you can be trusted. So you give that to the community, you get your assistance. Second, respect from the society. There has to be the stamping out, the weeding out, the extracting of crooked, corrupt police officers. And once we raise the profile of dignity and integrity within the police service, then they'll get the respect. And then third, more money. Once compassion is given in exchange for the assistance, and integrity is given in exchange for the respect, the public themselves, out of the public themselves, they will clamor for you, represent you, and on your behalf appeal to the state to pay you better. The trade unions will be behind you. The activists, the persons within the community of influence will all agitate for you. So right now we're at a tricky position. And again, I mean, I think the last murder statistic was something like 318. And again, when you divide the number of days of the year so far by the number of murders, then you multiply by 365, you get the projected murder figure. And right now, if you do that calculation, it's higher than it ever was before in all the history of our country. We have to all relentlessly work together to slow that down. So, beloved, the emancipation period and something that has been in the news, and I cannot understand why it has not been bigger news in Trinidad, but I was phoned for an interview by Radio Jamaica on Tuesday to discuss a matter which has been on the news in Barbados, in St. Lucia, in Jamaica, in Grenada, but I haven't heard anything about it in Trinidad. And it is a matter pertaining to reparations. And it has to do with one of these phone companies. And I'm talking about Digicel. Have you heard anything in the news about Digicel? I'm so puzzled as to how come this wasn't on the front page of the Express, front page of the Newsday, front page of the Guardian, major headline news on TV6, on CNC3, on TTT. Maybe I missed it. You can tell me if you heard about it on our local media. But it's big news in other parts of the Caribbean, but not here. So, on July 19th, this year 2022, the founder and chairman of Digicel announced that Digicel, the phone company, who are also providing internet and cable TV and other services, Digicel announced that they will be launching a campaign. What is this campaign for? A campaign for reparations. Digicel, not B-Mobile, Digicel. Founder and chairman, Mr. Dennis O'Brien, at a press conference on July 19th, announced the launch of the Digicel Repair Campaign, a plan to deliver reparations for African enslavement to Caribbean countries. He said the aim is for former European colonizing countries to create an investment funding arrangement for each country in the Caribbean affected by slavery. So founder and chairman of Digicel, Mr. Dennis O'Brien, revealed that the plan will be used to promote major projects for African people in agriculture, health, and education, among other sectors, over 25 years. Now remember, just to remind you in case you forgot, We are still in the decade for people of African descent that was established by the United Nations. It was from January the 1st, 2015, and it is ending on December 31st, 2024. Soon it will be December 2022. And then we have 2 years left after that. We are currently in the 8th year. The 8th year for the decade for people of African descent. We haven't heard about it in the parliament. We haven't heard about it in the lower house. We haven't heard about it in the upper house or the Senate. No statements from the judiciary. No statements from the cabinet. No statements from the government, period. No statements from the president of the republic. So is it that we're going to have a big ceremony on December 31st, 2024 in the night, and then when January 1st, 2025 comes, we say, oh, well, that's it, the decade is over. What's really going on? We've heard nothing about reparations except in a little ceremony on Emancipation Day, and a public official will come out and make a statement. Only around Emancipation Day, as a special occasion, in the same way that there are those who put on African clothes for Emancipation Day, Indian clothes for Indian Arrival Day and Diwali, dress up with a Santa Claus hat for Christmas, put on a carnival costume the 2 days before Ash Wednesday, put on a spiritual Baptist outfit for Shouts of Baptist Day, and like chameleons. But no true commitment, no true dedication, except to where the money's coming from. But here comes Digicel announcing this 25-year plan for reparations. Now, let me tell you what disturbed me. You can take this how you want. But Mr. Dennis O'Brien, founder and chairman of Digicel, he said at this press conference on July 19th, 2022, he said that he is working with 3 Caribbean prime ministers to help make this a reality. And I started to wonder to myself immediately, who are those 3 Caribbean prime ministers? And that was a major talking point on the Radio Jamaica program that I was on. Who are these 3 Caribbean prime ministers? And is it that Digicel is going to work with 3 Caribbean prime ministers, channel or funnel whatever funding from Digicel for reparations through 3 Caribbean prime ministers, and then those 3 Caribbean prime ministers end up channeling that money for reparations right back to the local whites or the Syrians, and then hope that they, with our reparations money, will employ some of us? Is that how this is going to work? Because I'm telling you, if that's how it's going to go, you're talking about some rebellion kind of stuff going on here. How is that going to be laid out? And they did not identify the three prime ministers, but there are, I'm sure, those who would not betray their people in this cause. But why wasn't this in our local media? Why wasn't this on the front page of the Guardian, Express, Newsday, or major headline news on TTT, TV6, CNC3? Just like with the University of Glasgow 3 years ago. The University of Glasgow in Scotland on August 23rd, 2019, highlighted that they have agreed to pay 20 million British pounds in reparations to atone for its historical links to the transatlantic slave trade in what the University of the West Indies described as a bold historic move. So this is a plan basically between the University of Glasgow that have linked their founders to beneficiaries of the slave trade. Think, beloved. The University of Glasgow signed an agreement with the University of the West Indies to fund a joint center for development research because the University of Glasgow in Scotland discovered in 2018 that it had benefited financially from Scottish slave traders in the 18th and 19th centuries by between 16.7 million and 198 million pounds, British pounds in today's money. It has therefore pledged to raise 20 million British pounds for Caribbean education, chiefly in research grants and gifts. Then other British universities, including Oxford and Bristol, have been the focus of protests over their ties to the slave trade and to powerful colonialists such as Cecil Rhodes. So in 2017, All Souls College in Oxford, England, launched an annual scholarship for Caribbean students and paid £100,000 grant to a college in Barbados in recognition of its funding from Christopher Codrington, a wealthy slave owner who bequeathed 10,000 British pounds in 1710 to build a library that bears his name, the Codrington Library. Then on March the 2nd, 2021, history was made when Bristol in England passed a slavery reparations motion. The city of Bristol also called upon the UK government to set up an all-party parliamentary commission of inquiry to look at how reparations might be delivered. Lord Mayor Cleo Lake tabled the motion alongside Labour Deputy Mayor Asher Craig. The Glasgow Agreement was first signed in Kingston, Jamaica on July 31st, 2019. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, said it was a bold and historic step. So, okay, so look at it. This is what's worrying me, beloved. Because they're saying, okay, so this university in Glasgow said, okay, we're going to pay 20 million British pounds for reparations in the Caribbean. It's going to go through the University of the West Indies. But over here in the University of the West Indies, oh, God. They chose as the leader of UWI a less qualified white man over the eminently and supremely qualified Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, who has done extensive research on the slave trade. But again, and it's a local politician here in Trinidad who was responsible for that decision. This admiration for white business people, even if they don't have qualifications, they're white and they're in business, we will put them over our own black people who are by far qualified, more qualified in a superior way. That's a shame. So moving from the University of Glasgow back to Digicel now, and Digicel is talking about working with 3 Caribbean prime ministers. Is that how it's going to be? That we have political leaders in our region who believe so strongly in bringing white people to the forefront of authority, even if they're not qualified, but they're in business, so we will put them in control of our affairs and then thank them for a job? No! That's wrong. It's dead wrong. So the Glasgow University played a key role in the abolitionist campaign of the era. But until recently, Scotland's profits from slavery, including from tobacco and cotton plantations, were largely ignored. One of the former individuals, Robert Cunningham Graham, spent 2 decades making his fortune as a slave trader. Graham Campbell, a Scottish National Party councillor who became the city's first councillor of African descent in 2017, said, "Our mutual recognition of the appalling consequences of that past, an indictment of Scottish inhumanity over centuries towards enslaved Africans, are the justifications that are at the root of the modern day racism that we now fight." Now, every Caribbean nation that I go to, or every Caribbean nation that I speak in, I do a calculation for them. And this is Trinidad here. And I've memorized these for Jamaica, Barbados, Guyana, Trinidad. So in Trinidad, according to the British records, after emancipation, a total of 20,657 Africans were freed by the August 1st, 1833 British parliamentary decision. Crimes against humanity. Were reparations paid? let me put it to you like this. Was reparations paid? Yes. That's the answer to the question. So there was slavery in Trinidad. It ended on August 1st by the Act of Parliament, August 1st, 1833. Only truly went into full effect August 1st, 1838. But the British Parliament passed this decision to abolish slavery, to end slavery, on August 1st, 1833. So our question is, was reparations paid? The answer is yes. Yes, reparations was paid. But the peculiar thing is, reparations was not paid to the victim. Reparations was paid to the perpetrator. And Trinidad and Guyana had the largest payouts to the whites than in any other part of the Caribbean. So 20,657 Africans in Trinidad. And the whites who owned us were given 52 British pounds per person that they lost. Think about that. There were 20,000 plus of us. And for that 20,000 plus, after slavery was abolished, the owners, the slave masters, got 52 British pounds per person. So if someone had 10 slaves and slavery was abolished, they would get 520 pounds. If someone had 20 slaves, they'll get 1,040 pounds. If someone had 2 slaves, they'll get 104 pounds. So this was the highest figure anywhere. So the white people in Trinidad collectively got, almost 200 years ago, 1,074,164 British pounds at a rate of 1.21 to the US dollar. That is equivalent to 1,299,738 US dollars. Now, according to economics methods calculations, there has been an annual inflation rate of 1.38% on the dollar per year over the last 200 years, giving us a dollar spending value in 1838 of approximately $19.45 today. So a dollar back then could have done what $19.45 could do today. So this means that the whites in Trinidad received an equivalent sum of 25,279,913 US dollars, which in TT dollars is approximately 172 million. Remember, you're talking about 1% of the population or less receiving an equivalent sum of 172 million. And then in addition to that is cash. That is cash. It does not include the free land that they got or that they stole. It doesn't include the free buildings, the houses, the estates, the plantations that they got or that they stole. It doesn't include also all of the free slave labor in the form of blood, sweat, tears, and the digging out of roads, making of the highways, leveling out the cane fields, starting agricultural programs. It doesn't include any of that. This is extra cash. So they were given reparations. They got reparations for being the perpetrators while we were the victims. And then they added insult to injury by passing laws to prevent us from being landowners, from being business entrepreneurs. We couldn't purchase land as individuals. It's insane. Then they passed the Master Servants Ordinance in 1846. So you black and slavery was over, you still have to go and work on a plantation. So you say, what? If slavery is over, how come I still have to work on a plantation? Because now there are new laws. There are loitering laws. There are idling laws. They passed a law for the enslaved Africans after emancipation called the Habitual Idlers Ordinance. So in other words, yes, slavery is over, but that doesn't mean that you can just walk the streets and not work for white people still. Oh, Lord. All kinds of vagrancy laws. To get you back on the plantation. So again, as I always say, every year, so they kidnapped you, brought you into a house, and then called the police on you because you're not paying rent for the house that they kidnapped you and put you in. But they're not culpable at all for the crime of kidnapping in the first place. It's sick, beloved. So here comes Digicel announcing this 25-year reparations plan. And some politicians put together a reparations commission. This is stuff to cry for, beloved. How do you go about choosing who's to be on a reparations commission? Again, I'm asking, is it that you want to put white people in charge of the reparations commission? For them to decide how that narrative should go? Is that how it is? I'm telling you, beloved, Trinidad has a different kind of approach to this. Different kind of approach altogether. Did you know that in 1837 the British passed a law called the Slave Compensation Act? It was signed on December 23rd, 1837, and it authorized the commissioners for the reduction of the national debt to compensate slave owners in the British colonies in the amount of approximately £20 million for freed slaves. Now remember, the whites are united, the blacks are divided. So this 20 million British pounds, we can sum that up as $500 million. So given that same calculation of 1945, approximately $500 million US times 7, so you're looking at somewhere between 3 and 4. Somewhere between $3 and $4 billion in today's money. Somewhere between $3 and $4 billion given to the white community. Based on government census of August 1st, 1834, over 40,000 awards were given to slave owners. And since some of the payments were converted into 3.5% government annuities, they lasted until 2015. Beloved, they were still paying reparations to white people up to the year 2015. While we just crying out for reparations. You realize what's happening here? And then we have to wait for Digicel to come and talk about reparations. So they didn't just take all the money at one time. They gave it to the white slave owners and then incrementally paid it back up to 2015. We'll be right back, people, with your calls.
Views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.
and you make it long. Keep my feet firmly on the ground. When I'm weak, yeah, you make me strong. So for you know I sing this song. Everybody hands up and sing it with me. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey, hey. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey. See when I tell you, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. Hey, hey, very special, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. Where we going, where we going, where we going? We up and down, we all around. We going country, we going down. We going east, we going west. You know with friendship it is the best. We up and down, we all around. We going country, we going down. We going down to the ground, 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 to the ground. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey, hey. We are something special, hey, very special, hey, something special, hey, hey. See when I tell you, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. Hey, hey, very special, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. See when I tell you, no doubt. Hey, hey, hey. When I tell you, I tell you, I say what I tell you when I tell you, I mean it. When I tell you, what I tell you when I tell you, I mean it. I'm telling you what I tell you when I tell you, when I tell you what I tell you. I mean it.
Looking for a safe and relaxed professional massage therapist and nutritionist? Look no further. Nature's Touch with Empress Judy and Associates offers a natural approach to better health. Treat yourself to a professional massage therapy and nutrition advice in a safe and relaxed atmosphere. Rejuvenate your body, mind, and soul at Nature's Touch Therapy. For an appointment, please call or WhatsApp 1-868-398-8282 or visit our Facebook page. Remember, your health is our responsibility at Nature's Touch.
Better vision for your physical eyes, and through the eyes of faith, let healing arise in your mind, body, and spirit. At Natural Heal Ministries, we teach kingdom principles for living that brings the blessing of God to your mind, body, and soul.
NHM Professional Associates are located at number 10 Moody Stewart Street, Monterey Post, San Fernando. For more info, contact Dr. Desmond Phillip at NHM on 349-3494.
NHM Professional Associates can be heard live on the street 919 FM every Saturday from 9:05 to 9:55 a.m.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on the street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
In Trinidad and Tobago, there are so many things to talk about. Social issues, injustice, child abuse, domestic violence, political scandals, and much more. On HOTP, we will cover all that and much more. Don't forget, you can catch us every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Facebook and Instagram. Hot off the press. Hot topics, no filter.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish the
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
That's all right.
If a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or white background. And a yellow person, Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to walk around with these names. And therefore he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once his grandfather or one of his forefathers was owned by a white man who was named Johnson. His name is Bunch. His grandfather was owned by a white man that was named Bunch.
Would you mind telling me what your father's last name was?
My father didn't know his last name. My father got his last name from his grandfather, and his grandfather got it from his grandfather, who got it from the slave master. The real names of our people were destroyed during slavery.
Was there any line, any point in the genealogy of your family when you did have to use the last name, and if so, what was it?
The last name of my forefathers was taken from them when they were brought to America and made slaves. And then the name of the slave master was given, which we refuse. We reject that name today.
You mean you won't even tell me what your father's supposed last name was or gifted last name was?
I never acknowledge it whatsoever.
Let me ask you about the status of Elijah Muhammad. First of all, is he ill?
I spoke to him today. He is in better health than he has been.
Welcome back and welcome to the second hour of the Black Agenda here on the Street 919 FM. We're going up to 9 o'clock and we're taking your calls on 342-0081 and 466-5391. And tomorrow, beloved, is our Emancipation Lecture at the Kwame Ture Center from 11 o'clock in the morning. And I promise you, it will be a very thought-provoking presentation. So audio-visual presentation that you must see and hear. And bring the children. Of course, the George Padmore Boys Academy is continuing with its sessions Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock. We just have 3 weeks left for this cycle. Today we're doing self-defense, self-confidence, and self-awareness part 2, because that was one of the best sessions so far. That was session number 3. Today is session number 8. We're doing part 2 to that. Next week we're doing agriculture. We'll be outside the building for most of next week's session. Everyone, all the boys will be planting some food. We have Brother Alpha Senan, who is one of our top farmers in this country. He's attending all kinds of seminars all over the world on agriculture. He has a magnificent establishment. He even went to Israel. I think I would have told you that, as an African Muslim brother visiting Israel. Victims of 2 kinds of racism over there. But our brother was able to make it back. And we look forward to seeing him next week, inshallah. So, tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock, and we're having, let me tell you this too, tomorrow will be, inshallah, the last day that I'm doing any discounts on the books that we have remaining, because we'll have to make another purchase of 1,000 or 2,000, however much, to store up in the meanwhile, but we're close to running out. So tomorrow definitely would be the last day that we have a general all-out reduction in prices on black studies, and knowledge is power. All right, so let's go to the phones, 342-0081 and 466-5391. Caller, good morning.
A pleasant morning to you, dear doctor and philosopher.
Good morning.
Let me greet you in Kemet language, since we are about to climbing into that day. I say Alafia, Hotep, and Amanza. I greet you in the highest order of Kemet language. I say Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Dear doctor, when you played the Honorable Dr. Louis Farrakhan this morning, and I listened to the Honorable Farrakhan this morning, and after listening to your editorial, doctor, it's a bittersweet moment for me, but a watershed. And I'll tell you, because, doctor, you know, I love to keep it real with you. Ah, Lord, doctor. You know what is sad? Imagine what you is doing at that Kwame institution. And what Farrakhan talk about land tenure and land acquisition. Look, let me say this. The government have the perfect opportunity in terms of reparation and everything. In its 41 constituency, I repeat, they should call you and give you 2 acres in every constituency. You see, I tell you, you have the catalyst to teach that African history. And I'm saying, what a better place to start that history. Oh, Kabakit, where you going? Yes, I'm going there this morning, doctor. Because I tell you, we can't be half pregnant in conversation. We can't say that black man, black government, and yet still, come on, people. We're on the eve of emancipation. As we're going to dress in our regalia and everything, and we work. But I'm saying, my brothers and sisters, join with Tabaki this morning. Forget about your political party. And when you speak in this mic this morning, we talk real conscious black reparation. We talk real land, but not your political party, but understand we got to bind together. Doctor, let me say this, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity. As I told you, it's a bittersweet watershed moment. When you talk about reparation and land tenure and land acquisition, and listening to our dear brother, Doctor and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, come on, black politician, you are not listening. Look, dear doctor, all I can do is make my normal clarion call that the African politician, yes, the African politician. Doctor, let me just add this quickly and say it again. I think I said it 2 weeks back on your program. Going to get Caroni land in Trinidad and Tobago is like a lost pin in a stockade. And let me say this to politicians, radio hosts, and activists. Stop defending people who don't need to be defended. I am saying, understand this, And doctor, are going in dirty waters, but very respectively, and I will close it. You see, the thing about it, when the other race in government, they don't see which one is UNC or PNM. All they see, that is my Indian brother, my Indian sister, and I've got to give them the land. And listen to me, people. Hate Tabakit, all of him. Let's see land tenure, land acquisition. Remember when they took our ancestors, those who came and wasn't converted. And let me repeat it, doctor. for those who came and wasn't converted. And they brought us from our free land to work the land here. And as you said about reparation and digital, if the African politician cannot understand that and get it right, I tell you, wake up! Wake up! All Dr. Mohammed, what do you have against this brother? And let me say this, Dr. Mohammed didn't coach me to say anything. I'm a free speaker. Call in the brother each time and give him what is deserving to him. It is time we give him land to share that reparation. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to put this on the front burner. I am calling on the Honorable Prime Minister to call in Dr. David Mohammed and put him to the head of that reparation committee. I pray that these so-called activists didn't call to attack, but deal with blackness and reparation. Have it out and out.
Thank you for your sentiments, sir. Appreciate it. Caller, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother. How are you this morning?
I'm great, thank you.
I would like to contradict some of your, or I would like to make my point. Some of your, not contradict, but make my point, my assumption based on what was said and history lesson that you gave us again this morning. One point is, Haiti, to me, paid more reparations than any other country. Because Haiti paid up to 1980-something, Haiti was still paying. 1989, if I'm not mistaken.
2010.
All right. So Haiti paid more than any other country in the world reparation to white slave owners instead it was paid to them. And when you work out your figure, that is in today's money. At that time, that is what they collected. But let's move on. Add another point.
How is that a contradiction, though?
Because in some sense, you see, it's making it sound like this is the money that they have now. This is the money that was given to them now. And no, I understand the economics then. We can't compare the economics then, actually.
Right, that is why you convert it. You calculate the inflation rate, which is 1.38% per year over approximately 200 years.
Today. And if that is the case, then if that is the case, actually, then we will never have such an influx of Syrians and those Syrians that acquire all the wealth. You could say mostly among, if they're 100%, they have nearly 45% of the wealth in Trinidad. We would have our former white plantation owners, children and grandchildren. Their wealth would have been tremendous today in our TNT. But let me forget that.
Okay, go on.
Another point is that you said that Digicel. Digicel is in Trinidad, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent. Digicel is all over. In Trinidad and Tobago, we had own PST, own what we call telco, owned it as Afro-Trinbagonians, 90% of the employees. And instead of we made it productive, we make somebody else have to come and take 49% of the shares. And Digicel come into Trinidad because why? We was not visionary enough. Instead of we take money that we was paid to in retrenchment and buy out another 49% of the shares and encourage the children and grandchildren to be productive. Where we at TSTC now could have been where Digicel is today. But vision again. And the next thing, the Prime Minister, Mr. Mohammed, if reparation is to be paid, who is it to be paid to? Not the state. The state is the government, whether it's PNM, UNC, whether it's Barbados, St. Vincent, unless there's a group of black people that come out from Trinidad, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, and form a body to represent the Caribbean, to make noise for reparation, just like what Digicel is using their position to do. in order to keep their hold on the Caribbean where connectivity is concerned via internet and phone and whatever you want to call it. And that is what they're doing. We ain't have a group of body yet in the Caribbean. We can't even organize Trinidad tomorrow, Monday's emancipation. Have you heard a black group besides the government putting out the money into everybody else to make whatever taking place? Have you seen one black group in Trinidad and Tobago stand out and say, here I am and this is what I'm doing for emancipation Day? I'll tell you, we try that, you know. We put with money, I put my money all how. Black caucus, you name it, this, that, the other, etc. And what I have? I don't have one black person to go in the parliament up to this day with our association that could lobby the PNM and say, I put in this person in the parliament to speak on behalf of black people. UNC has that though. And it's not about, and let me explain you something. You said something.
So you're saying that there's nobody
we have no
in the
voice.
Parliament to speak on behalf of black people.
We have no voice.
No one in our Parliament among 41 MPs to speak on behalf of black people.
Mohammed, we don't have that. Hold on.
All right.
Parliamentarian,
okay.
Hold on. I'm an African person as a parliamentarian. When I go in the Parliament, I do not speak on behalf of one race.
No, you speak on behalf of justice,
right. So
equality, fair treatment to all.
That's what I was saying as we start this conversation. So please allow me. You see, I heard all the things was done to black people from your leaders. And let me explain. They have a term in America, what they call it, when America, and you're an intelligent fella, so you could point it out to me, I just forget. In America, there's a term that they use to help black people. What do you call that? There's a term where the government puts things in place to help black people.
I think you might be talking about affirmative action.
Right. So let me explain you something here. Trinidad and Tobago. I have a group of people here, I call them recalcitrant minorities. Every time there's a black administration attempting to move the African people up the economic ladder, that is what is used to say that is what is happening in this administration or any black government that is in office. That term is thrown towards them, stating that it's being unfair to another group of people. So let me explain you why. I have a housing scheme in Shoguana Stanley for how many years and can't move. You know why? For a group of people tell them if they build that, they're moving a group of people from one community to our next community. Vote pardon. So I have an Afro-Trinidadian. I have a group of people that's preventing me from living in Trinidad wherever I would like to, or wherever the government would like to put me in Trinidad and Tobago. That is one. Right? I have a group of people. Mr. Manning talk about train. I have a group of people tell me no train, no highway, no byway. Every time there is room for economic movements. One more thing. I have, when they came into office, I had a man called John Williams building, you see the highway that is going from, whatever you call that place on the highway there that was incomplete. Maloney or La Hockett or whatever it is, if you remember that. That was a single lane all the way up to Needle Massey. Mr. Manning gave a man called John Williams, a black man, that highway to fix. When he went, he buy truck, he hired everything to do the job. When he went to buy sand, he didn't own a sand pit. They tell him no sand. Mr. Manning gave him sand from National Quarry. They never see National Quarry. They think that National Quarry was Chicago. They take that and they put on the road. They never use that yet in Trinidad and Tobago. That man, Mr. John Williams, used that. They say no blue metal stone. He import his own stone. You know what's the problem? When time to pitch the road, who has the largest asphalt plant? They never give him. He never get. When them get into office, Judge Corner under that administration split up that contract into two, Junior Sammy and Kusal, and give it to them. I have a man right now, my present minister, the same one, Foster, to tell Foster they can't give out no land on the Ministry of Agriculture because there's a particular group of people that are not known to farming. And think about that. I have a man, a minister, to tell them that the land that they're giving out to African people, or so they assume, these people are not prone to farming. Come on, Brother Mohammed. Then we wake up and realize what is taking place in our country. And let me explain something. That murder, I sit down and when they call them 1%, I sit down driving our so-called what we call 1%, that shouldn't be going on. Born here. And we having that conversation. 4 in tongue got shot yesterday. You see, you know what happening? That is recruitment. This is a 1% telling me that is recruitment taking place because here we're going on a few days before the mayor of Port of Spain or the commissioner say, you know what's going on since we have foot patrol, the murders or the crime in the city of Port of Spain has eased up. Just 2 days or a day before. And all of a sudden, just so, a man walk up to a man selling water and shooting for what reason? A man take shot in tongue, and here we're going on in which part my economic dollar that's mostly spent, Charlotte Street and George Street. Where my people that benefit the most. And a man come to get murderers bail. I agree that people are entitled to bail for murderers, but there is a lot of action behind the action.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your call. Good morning, caller.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I still in?
Walaikum salam.
Vendamo, my brother. And Elite, my sister. Good morning. My sister, I've left something down there yesterday for you. I was so lucky that I met Sister Roxanne because I left her remote late.
What time were you there yesterday?
About after 4, way to 5.
Oh.
She came back. She said she had forgotten something and she came back.
Right. So I would have left not too long.
That's why I met her and the guy that was there. You understand? So I wanted to tell my sister I left something there and they wouldn't be there today, but tomorrow they'll be there.
Right.
And but unforeseen circumstances, I wasn't able to make it tomorrow. I was telling Sister Roxanne. But I wanted Sister Roxanne, I've already made contact for some of the plans I told you. Because she checked me with her plans. Anyway, and Sister, I would like you to collect it, right? Because it's emancipation. You know, Brother David, I would have liked to hear on some of the media, especially TDT, something concerning Africans and their contribution towards world development. I'd like to hear that. No media bring that. You know what the media bring? No, before I say that, you know, there are 2 universities in America that are paying reparation, you understand, to the Africans for what was done to them. In the, I think it's Harvard is one university, one in Georgia or something too. You understand? But I would like to hear our people discuss something concerning African development. You see, the enemies who are the Europeans have us in such a way that in this emancipation, all emancipation, you can't talk nothing constructive, progressive. You are a brother. You are one of these. You, as I say, you are the only slave. The one slave that are fighting, you understand, to free our people, you understand? And all I could hear people talking about is $100. You understand? $100, you understand, that they lost in an organization that you, because of you, people join the organization. You're not aware of what somebody else is going to do. You look at somebody and see whatever you see. It's good to the benefit of my people. So you became part of it. But you know, you're not aware of what's in the other people's mind. You understand? So why hold that against you? It's so sad, you understand, in a time like this that we are going through here, in the year, you understand, of the people, the people of the decade for people of African descent, you understand, to hear people this. I would like to hear this morning, people on the radio talking about what we could do. You know, in one of the colors, one of the brothers said that it's only rats and cockroaches that live in the ghetto, you know.
No.
He said the people, he said a community don't have cockroaches and rats living in it, you understand? So when we talk about the ghetto, we talk about, we're talking about the rats and cockroaches that live in here. He said, you don't have no business, you have no money. You have no money, you can't buy nobody. You have to have money to buy. You have to buy the politicians. You have to buy the judges, the lawyers, and all this sort of thing. You have to buy them to move up. You understand? And the Europeans have us in such a way. They have destroyed us. We can't even see the destruction that was done to us. You understand? That destruction continue up to today. And you see that book that they give us and tell us is the word of God. Kill us dead. We going by it. You understand? We're not searching in it to see what was done. We're going by that. That is the living word of God. And that is one of our biggest downfall. Our people have to understand that emancipation is once a year. I observed yesterday on the television, they call psychology, 2 people on the television there, they had on, I don't know what it was, but it's that emancipation. But what I observed with them, like you want to do something to appease the population or the people to make them feel that you are part of what is going on. Because I have seen them dressed for the Diwali and the Indian arrival day, fully clothed in the Indian garbs, you understand? And I watched them yesterday. I said, yes, you think that everybody is stupid. As the man said, they can fool some people sometime. You can't fool all the time. The people who they brought on one of the program there yesterday, the sister from Nigeria, she and what his name, daughter, Lady Wanda came to do the head wrap. And at least they brought something to show, you understand, the people out there, the African community out there, you understand, that this is Africa. And let them know that a different head wrap is for different occasions and different things. You can tell by the head wrap whether you are married, whether you are divorced. You understand? You can tell these things because that is African culture. African culture. We have to, but David, it's a struggle. Sometimes I wonder if I would ever see, you understand, live to see, you understand, more advancement in it. But we in a hole. And when you hear people come in and all they could talk is politics, politicians don't care about you. The politicians don't care about you. The politicians that care about you. You have so many black people in the parliament there, and you're still talking that nonsense. How come when Kamala and them, they just do things? They don't talk. They don't think about the rest of the society. They do things for the people. They put a road, go up Valencia. You see the road they put for the people who live in the back there. Go down Pageant, you'll see the road. Go to Pageant, take it straight onto the southern minute. They cut the road, they put water, they put lights for the people. They don't care about what you say. But you are to tell but you for everybody and you are to consider what they say. You do what you are to do. Agriculture, we are the agriculturists in this country. We are the agriculturists in this country. It is we that plant dashing, cassava, yam, edible food to eat. We plant tomato and body and this sort of thing. Sauce, we plant food. So to talk that nonsense about we know agriculture. Tobago is to send food down here to us. Tobago, peas, all this sort of thing. We know what food because we know hard work. You understand? So to talk that piece of nonsense, I hope that when they given, you understand, loans for agriculture, that they don't do like what they did the last time. You understand? Give it to the other community. And they took the money and they buy car, build house, educate the children. So they hope that our people get loans to put proper road access so they could bring the produce out of the bush and these sort of things. Hope that could be done. But anyway, it's so long. I know other people are coming, but as I go again, I want to say, Malcolm Nesanet. Malcolm Nesanet in African community. It means happy emancipation. Sure.
Well, thank you, my beloved brother. Thank you so much. Caller, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Something is going on with these phones,
Brother there are a lot of problems with the phones.
And I want to believe it's deliberate. It's not just because normally phones are functioning. But at certain times, you get all sorts of mishaps and you can't get, you're not getting through and you're not hearing people, you hearing them, but the other people out there. This is not because of phone problems. I want to believe that this is deliberate. And like everything else that you spoke of, Brother Mohammed, this is to cry for. The things that you are hearing and the things that you know of, is to cry for. And first up, let me say hello to my brother there. Okay, thank you. It's to cry for. what is 10 years of the year of what? Who authorized these people to give African people a certain amount of years to do what? I can't understand that. Did Giselle want to give reparations for 25 years? Willie Lynch had a plan to keep people enslaved for 1,000 years. You making something for reparations for 25 years. 25 years is a blink of an eye. A blink of an eye is 25 years. I don't understand it because it is, and what is most amazing is how African people continue to beat up on each other.
Oh, yes.
But one thing I must say too before I forget, the North American Indians, our brothers and sisters there, they're not making joke. They're not taking, I am sorry from the bottom of my heart, nonsense. They know that the intentions was to get rid of them and to kill them all. And they're standing up for that, because I heard one of them being interviewed on the British station. And he said that, this I'm sorry is not going to cut it. They want reparations. And that is something I feel good about. But it is amazing, Brother David.
Yeah, I know how you feel.
I heard a brother come out there and talk about how, we are so not united and we are divided. And he spent the duration of his time on the radio praising everybody else to be so united and to be so together and bashing us for not being here. You know your history. It is emancipation time. You couldn't find anything positive. I mean, so much African people have done to raise ourselves and to keep ourselves. And all you could talk about is how we're so disunited and all what we don't do and all of what we don't do. Well, what is to be gained by that? The people who you claim to be so united, is that a good thing? Where people in their sick minds just unite to oppress people, and that is something that they must be spoken of for and heralded for, because they're united. Why they're united? To keep us down? And that's something to be praised. Can you imagine? But we have what? Did you say? You come in to do something in the Caribbean, but you can't hear where and with whom? What is that? Who are the prime ministers that? So everything must be done in a clandestine, sick manner. Why that must be? How come we don't know where did Giselle have the 3 islands that they're dealing with? How come we can't know? That is right. That is the way that this must be done. And this thing with giving money, you want to do things for reparation for 25 years. But this thing with giving money is something that we have to watch. Because when they have the economy as they want to have it, they are going to destroy the economy. So whatever money that they give you is going to worth nothing. You keep hearing about cryptocurrency and all of these things. So we have to be vigilant. We have to watch to see what schemes and skeps that they are coming up with. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you, my sister. And this is why there is a plan, a reparations plan, which is a 10-point or 10-step plan, none of the steps of which include actual handing over of cash. It has to do, a lot of it is based on education, on building institutions, on establishing a knowledge program, canceling debt, transferring technology, repatriation. I mean, our accessibility to the African continent is also a major factor. So it's a lot of different factors outside of just paying out cash money. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. Mohammed.
Good morning to you.
From 1956 to now, Brother David, Africans still quarreling, they get nothing. Since 1956, they get no land. How Indian get land? How Indian get land? You think all them land Indian have? Me talking about Indian come here too. You think all them land Indian buy it? You think all them land Indian buy it? So we give up, sell our land and give all our land. 1956, we still complain we get land. How we get land? How we get land? Brother Mohammed. Yeah. And nothing against you, I love you. Because sometimes when Camilla was in power, that same Shagawamas land, I could remember, all they was talking for that same land. Mm-hmm. The people that be planting the crop, the people planting the crop and thing, and they come and they bowl down all the crop they had. They come on up and they say that I am Mr. Tawaki talking. When you was fighting for land, wherever you get it, that Shagaramas land, nobody complain, nobody say nothing. They come and bother all the people them crop. And then they look at them, they're talking. They're talking about Africa and they have no land, and Africa they want nothing. Africa, you think Africa wants something? Don't fight all the burning fire. If all the burning fire on the street and things, them young. Go and piece a place. Go and walk the land. Get a piece of land somewhere. You must find it somewhere. And find and plant food. All the talking, all the going to Bonong Road. All the want something.
All right. Well,
find a piece of land somewhere.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Caller, are you there?
Hello, morning, Brother David.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, McKinley, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Morning to you, your listeners, and the viewers. Brother David, there are two aspects of the reparation that is known at me, and we do zero in on it. Right? And, I wish it could be part of the itinerary in terms of what we're proceeding for, what we're pushing for, where reparation is concerned. And the two things is, one, the preservation of our scientists and those who have the intelligence to bring about inventions and discoveries that is not in keeping with the capitalist status quo. Normally, when they rise up, they are hijacked and taken over, and whatever they brought forward is watered down. Or they disappear. We don't see them again, or they are censured. We don't hear from them again. That is a very, very... There was a young gentleman, a few years ago and recently, a relative of mine showed me. He invented a helicopter. Is a helicopter? Was it a car and something else that literally runs on no fuel? It runs on radio frequency. And he was not given the patent when it was because, when you come up against things that go against the status quo of capitalism, they fine you. They pretend that they want to help you. They'll take your product, buy the rights, get the rights, everything, send you back in your country, and somehow you just mysteriously go to the great blue yonder, somehow mysteriously, okay? And that is one of the aspects of reparation I want. And the other aspect is, could we come together and ask the Queen or whoever responsible, Rome, the head of Rome, Caesar, at least one book, one ancient book, bring it up from wherever dungeon they have. That is how they dealt with us in terms of, redirecting and dispersing our consciousness. That's how they did it. The true and real knowledge that exists, it is there. It is being used. It is being used against humanity. And I would at least, Brother David, in closing, like to see everybody come together and ask for at least one, Brother David. That's what they did. They stole knowledge, but we're not asking back for knowledge. One book, Brother David, a book. Tell one of them hierarchy to at least ask back the Queen or Germany or one of them, the knowledge that they stole, at least playbook. That is what is grimy every time this reparation thing come up. Those two issues. Thank you, Brother David, for allowing this.
All right, thank you. Good morning, caller.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Brother David, I know hearing the lady speaking about land and African land and but on that Trinidad, you know the history of politics. African movement church that the land in politics and how we lose it. On that know that and how the 1% of that today will not church. On that know we were strict. Big cathedral and them having protest right in the church because we know a lot of our ancestors and they were Catholics and Anglican. And some of the Catholic church and Anglican when they go in it, you're seeing 1% name reserved for some of them. Some of the private chapels and they have all on Mukrafa Road too by the school. But I'm saying, even on Charlotte Street today, when you pass Prince Hussein Street before Duke Street on the left hand side is Brother David Mohammed, there's a pocket to see little corridors to walk in. African people living in the back, they have some who never give up the property on St. Vincent Street. Even on Commerce Street, high up on our Commerce Street.
Yeah.
It was strict. Yes, a lot of streets in Port of Spain where we walk in a little pocket. Two big buildings and they walk all the entrance and they go, African people living those never give up the property. They bury them among the buildings. But they build the biggest housing development up in the east and put them on some of them up there. Yeah, we just own Port of Spain and was strict by the priests, some of them, to give up the land. So don't say African people give the land and some of us was strict. And what about the African ordinances somewhere, Mr. Wood? Because the man who called who is the name of free after, and we have to own our land and things after slavery.
Yep.
They have a lot of history. They have a lot of history that we don't know.
Yeah, and you know, brother, my presentation tomorrow, right, at the Kwame Ture Center, didn't really want to give away much of it, but it addresses a lot of these things. I'm going to be looking at manufacturing in Trinidad. Who owns the secondary manufacturing sector? How wealth was first created in this country. I'm going to talk about the Magnificent Seven. You understand? Ambard's House, Hayes Court, Knowsley House, the President's House, Whitehall, Stormyre's Castle, the families that owned them, how large tracts of land were passed around and given, and how patterns of control were maintained. Remember, there was pure ownership of acres upon acres by the hundreds in certain hands. And when they established this political system that we had, remember, we were given permission to go into politics. Think about that. This isn't a right that we fought for. We were given permission by our former colonizers to go into politics. And when we started entering politics, we were placed there to preserve the status quo as it is and ensure that the hands that wealth is in stays in. And this goes right back. You can trace it back year by year by year by year, going back through all of the different milestones: 1962, 1946, 1925, 1889. It goes right back to the beginning. And we're talking about this is why we talk about liberation. More than emancipation. Emancipation is what they gave to you. Liberation is what you have to take for yourself.
Just this morning, brother, I said in my post, and emancipation was given to we people down in our office somewhere in England and give me emancipation. We never fight for that.
Liberation is what we fight for.
I listen out there.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Walaikum salam. Caller, good morning.
Yes, Brother David, morning.
Good morning.
Brother David, what I would say, everybody talk about the black youths who involved in crime. Unless there is not programs, they can have 1,000,001 committee and this one and that one and that one, so on. Unless they don't have programs to teach these misled African youths African history and about the past, they would never solve the crime problem. Right? Because if African youths know about the history, a lot of them will not be involved in crime. Trust me.
Well, I hear you, and there is great truth in what you've said, right? Because Minister Farrakhan, in a 3-part series entitled Justifiable Homicide, he said one of the reasons that we have the kinds of crime rates, in particular the black-on-black killings among us and among our youth, is because they don't know the history of how our lives were taken arbitrarily. And if you compare that to the Jewish community, he said there's not one Jewish child who isn't fully mindful and sensitive to what happened during the Jewish Holocaust. Not one Jewish child. And because of the heightened sensitivity about those experiences collectively, you wouldn't find a Jewish teenager killing another Jewish teenager. I mean, except in some kind of extreme case, but it certainly is not the norm to be taking place almost every day. And part of the reason for that is because there's a very acute sensitivity about Jewish life. So much so that even if you just say something in the media, in the news, in a song, in a poem, a scene in a movie, a television show, anything that is disrespectful to the memory of the Jewish Holocaust, it's a crime in 17 different countries to deny the Jewish Holocaust. So you can't have all of that sensitivity around those experiences and the people themselves not be socialized in a way to honor the value and the worth of their existence. We now, and in particular in Trinidad, there's been a hostility towards teaching African youth or teaching African people in general African history. Because one is called racist, two is called offensive, and we are more worried many times about how other races feel about the discussions that we have with each other rather than correcting historical injustices themselves. And this is why, again, one of our issues of concern is that do we have to wait for Digicel to talk about reparations, or the University of Glasgow to talk about reparations, or the city of Bristol to talk about reparations, or even the United Nations to talk about reparations? We shouldn't wait for them to bring these things up and then we respond to them. We should be on the forefront of this call, of this cause. But as Minister Farrakhan says, again, though, when it comes to reparations, our first priority regarding reparations is self-repair. Self-repair. So we're not going to sit back and wait for some compassion to come out of the hearts of those who have no compassion in their hearts to give you. We'll be waiting a long time, beloved. We are not going to just surrender ourselves in hope that one day benevolence will be made manifest. No. We must get up and do for self or suffer the consequences. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the black man must do for self, and if he doesn't do for self, there will be consequences. So we have to build. We have to unite. We have to pool our resources. We have to come together. We have to settle our differences. We have to end that self-hate. We have to resist the urge to constantly pull down our own people, to constantly talk about how negative things are in our community, to constantly criticize and condemn each other, and to stop being voluntary modern-day slaves for these political parties. See, when we could get some of those basic things in order and reestablish an educational system, we're still talking about teaching black history in schools. Is it that we're going to wait for Joe Biden in America or Boris Johnson in England to approve of teaching black history in schools for us over in the Caribbean to react positively about that? We have to be able to lead the way in our own cause, in our own struggle. And as a Muslim, we're taught in the Holy Quran that we must stand up against injustice. We must stand up against oppression. That we must never ever be the aggressors. But we must fight against those who fight with us. And Allah says in the Quran, fight them until there is no more oppression. And that's how long the struggle will last. Until there's no more oppression. And even when oppression is over, hypothetically, remember the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. If you get your freedom today and then go back to sleep tomorrow, you will be enslaved the day after. Because if you fail to be vigilant consistently, then your freedom will be wrestled from you. So for as long as there's injustice, for as long as there's oppression, for as long as there's tyranny, there will be a struggle. And even when it's over, there will still be a struggle. And the struggle will be to maintain consciousness, to continue being vigilant. And that's where we are now, beloved. So family, I hope to see you tomorrow at the Kwame Ture Center for our, I've never promised that a lecture will be thought-provoking or powerful before, but I'm promising you this one, trust me. Tomorrow morning, Kwame Ture Center, 11 o'clock, our Emancipation Lecture for 2022. Stay tuned to the Street 919 FM. Assalamu alaikum.